Stop for a second and think about the color red. Red is the universal signal for danger. Fire trucks are red, stop signs are red, traffic lights turn red when you need to freeze. So if we want to protect our children more than anything else in the world, why on earth did we decide to paint every single school bus yellow? It seems like a mistake. In fact, for a long time, I thought it was just because yellow paint was cheaper, or maybe because it looked friendly. But the truth is much stranger and much more scientific. The specific shade of yellow on a school bus wasn't chosen by an artist, it was chosen by a scientist, a conference of educators, and the biology of the human eye. And the reason we use it is because of a superpower your eyes have that you probably don't even know about. To understand why, we have to go back to a time before the yellow bus existed. In the early 1900s, getting to school was the Wild West. There were no regulations. Kids rode in horse-drawn wagons, repurposed trucks, or just walked miles in the snow. And the vehicles that did exist, they were painted whatever color the district felt like. Some were white, some were blue. Some were painted red, white, and blue to be patriotic. It was a mess. And because there was no standard, drivers didn't know what to look for. A truck stopping in the middle of the road could be delivering milk, or it could be dropping off 30 kindergartners. Accidents happened. Tragedy was common. Enter a man named Frank Cyr. In 1939, Frank was a professor at Columbia University, and he decided enough was enough. He traveled across 10 states studying how students got to school, and he was horrified by what he saw. He realized that without a standard color, nobody was safe. So he did what any good academic would do: he called a conference. In April 1939, Frank Cyr gathered transportation officials, paint experts, and educators at Columbia University. He hung 50 different paint swatches on the wall, 50 different shades of yellow, orange, and red. He told the room, "We are not leaving until we pick one." They needed a color that did three things. First, it had to be visible in the early morning fog. Second, it had to stand out against the black asphalt of the road and the white snow of winter. But third, and most importantly, it had to hack the human brain. After 7 days of arguing and testing, they didn't pick red, they didn't pick orange. They picked a color that didn't even have a name yet. They called it National School Bus Chrome. Today, we just call it School Bus Yellow. But why did they pick it? The answer lies in your retinas. Your eyes are made of two types of photoreceptors, rods and cones. Cones are for color and rods are for low light. But these receptors aren't evenly spread out. In the center of your vision, you have high resolution, but on the sides, in your peripheral vision, you have low resolution. You can't read a book out of the corner of your eye, but you can detect movement and color. Here is the secret. Scientists discovered that the human eye is most sensitive to a specific wavelength of light. That wavelength is right around 555 nanometers. That is the color yellow-green. This is why high-vis safety vests are that weird neon yellow color. Your eyes literally absorb that light better than any other color in the spectrum. But school bus yellow is special. It hits your red cones and your green cones at the same time. This creates a massive signal in your brain. In fact, studies show that you can see yellow 1.24 times faster than you can see red. Think about that, 1.24 times faster. That sounds small, but when you're driving a car at 60 miles per hour, that split second is the difference between stopping in time and a catastrophe. If a school bus is creeping out of a side street and you're looking straight ahead, your peripheral vision will detect that big yellow block before you would detect a red one. Frank Cyr and his team didn't just pick a color, they picked a safety feature. And there's another reason, one that has to do with typography. What color is the text on a school bus? It's always black. Why? Because the contrast between black and this specific yellow is the highest color contrast known to man. It's easier to read school bus on a yellow background in the dim morning light than on white, red, or blue. So the next time you get stuck behind a slow-moving yellow bus and you feel that twinge of annoyance, take a closer look at the paint. You're not just looking at a vehicle, you're looking at a masterclass in optical science. You're looking at a decision made in 1939 by a man named Frank Cyr, who realized that the best way to keep children safe wasn't to make them look like fire trucks, but to make them look like the one color the human brain simply cannot ignore. That's why school buses are yellow, because in a world full of distractions, yellow is the one color that screams, "Look at me."